So, what was your inspiration for this game?
Yeah, so the jam sort of theme was mythologies, and
Hmm.
so we went through a few different ones, and the one that sort of really stuck out to us was the sort of folklore of willow wisps, which
Hmm.
were, I think it's like an English thing, but there's a few different cultures that have them, and they're kind of a sort of a spirit that's actually they sort of lead people really in the wrong direction. So they were sort of people thought that they would be like a light that was like leading them in the right direction, but the idea is sort of more sinister than that. That actually they're sort of leading them in the wrong direction to their doom.
Yeah, I see. So we are we're getting right into that. We are leading this child um, unpossessed. Okay, yes. So we want to go to the other side here, and then we can lead you to safety and move on to the other side ourselves. We've got a little snail here who is actually surprisingly quick, and I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a not a slow snail.
I appreciate the fake caps. All right. So, can you talk a little bit about your background and what your role in the project was?
Yeah, sure. So I did the programming and I did sort of half the level design. So it's actually a team of three of us. It's me and my siblings.
Mhm.
And so my brother, unfortunately, he wasn't able to help all that much. So he did a bit of the level design, but his computer died on like the second day of the jam. So he was uh, pretty sad that he couldn't really help all that much after that. And my sister did all the art. So she's her background actually, she does video game education. So over here in New Zealand, we've just recently added programming to the curriculum. And so the company that she works for does a lot of work with teaching children programming. So that's sort of her background with that sort of stuff. But she did mostly just the art for the game.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm glad that it was like a sort of family effort, and the fact that you all got to participate even a little bit, although it is definitely unfortunate news about your brother's computer.
Yeah, I mean it's almost 10 years old though, so and he's been sort of having slower, more and more issues over time with it. So I mean 10 years is a long time to get out of the same machine, so it's quite surprising that he even got that far.
Yeah, wow. All right. So, can you talk a little bit about your development process for the game?
Yeah, sure. So we yes, started off with the idea of the sort of will-o-wisp leading a child, and initially we wanted to do it in a forest setting because that's the idea, like with the sort of folklore of wisps, is that they're sort of in forests and they kind of lead people into bogs and they sort of drown and stuff like that. But I think it really in the end it came down to the time constraints of the game that the game jam that we didn't think we would be able to get all those forest assets done within the time
Mhm.
period. So really, it was the game we wanted to make would be very sort of foresty, and I wanted to put like a lighting engine and all that sort of stuff into. But with game jams, you really only want the stuff to make it playable to begin with.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so the and we sort of
Can, sorry.
steadily
Go ahead.
added more. So we steadily added more and more sort of assets that we could use as part of the traps and those sorts of things.
Yeah. And yes, Excavator, this is also made with GameMaker. This was made for the GameMaker Community Jam number 40, 43, 42.
42, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, I've messed up this level. This is going to be kind of a recurring thing, especially with puzzle games. It's really hard for me to keep focus between asking questions, trying to keep on top of chat, and playing the game itself. So it's kind of the
Yeah.
recurring joke of like, oh, not bad. You made me use 10% of my power.
Yes. So you didn't actually mess up there, by the way. You had the character was in the right spot. You just had to go down through the wall. Um,
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to actually lead them any further down because my trail gets blocked by walls. So I didn't know how to lead them around the bend there. So I'll figure it out.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, that's part of the puzzle, I suppose.
yeah. So
Shouldn't give you too many
how many
hits.
levels how many level oh, I got flipped into the wall there. Oh, uh-oh. Is there a restart button?
Yeah, it's just home.
Home. Okay, I have
Yeah,
home. No, no, hang on.
yep. Or you can press escape, go to the main menu, and then select the level again.
Oh, okay, yeah. Quit to menu, and then level select, and so I only on level 3. Wow. I guess the
Yeah,
levels
yep.
are more than just one screen, so.
No, I think that was because there's a tutorial level, and then there's I think this is only the third level.
I
I
just
don't
meant
can't
that there's the screen actually pans around over the course of the level you're playing.
Oh, yep, yeah, it does, yep. And it zooms and stuff too. So for larger levels, you can
Oh,
actually have the child at one end, and it'll sort of zoom out.
okay. I immediately forgot the mechanic that you can just clip through walls as the ghost. That's really important.
Yeah. Yes. I
uh,
one of the things I didn't quite add within the jam was an explanation for that sort of zone there that keeps the wisp out. I think most people sort of understand the mechanic reasonably quick, but I did get some people who noted that it felt like a bug. If you're possessing the child now and you try and run, it feels like the spikes are stopping you when they shouldn't be.
mhm.
So yeah, again, it's just a little bit of refinement. If all the rest of the mechanics I introduced through the tutorial, but that one wasn't really in there.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I feel like you can sort of intuit like, oh, I can't go in there. Like when I saw this, that was my first thought. So, um, oh, Elocricious asking why does the game open different dialogues to restart? It's just because that's the easiest way to do something like that in Game Maker. It's correct me if I'm wrong, but with Game Maker, like it doesn't have the best option for creating interstitials and like confirmation prompts. So it's usually just easier to use the sort of built-in, effectively debug functions that you're using there.
Yeah, yep. So and it was again just limited time with a game jam, so that was
Mhm.
supposed to be a temporary thing that became the permanent thing. It was sort of like I added it to start off with, and with the intention of eventually making something that's prettier and more thematic to the game. But yeah, just ran out of time trying to sort of squash bugs and make enough levels to make the game feel sort of a little bit more interesting. So yeah, those pop-ups, and it's unfortunate that it's actually popping you out of full screen as well.
Yeah, it's all right though. Um, as Lurk Nodley is saying, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. Yes, I'm sure we've all had our fair share of like, well, this isn't the way I wanted it to be, but it's the way it's gonna stay.
Yep, it's very true.
It's interesting that there's like this chunk of wall that I actually can't go through as the ghost. I guess
Yeah,
because it's the
so
actual level boundary.
it is, yeah, the level boundary effectively. So I was thinking about making it just the sort of square extent of
Mhm.
the area, but it would probably be more noticeable if the background was maybe a black instead of a gray. It'd be very sort of more obvious that that's a region of outside of the level.
Right. All right. Well, we're slowly chipping our way through this one. It's going to be really unfortunate when, not if, when I die. Um, have to start this whole level over again. Um, anyway, while we're talking about Game Maker, can you recommend a useful shortcut or a clever hack in the engine that you think would be useful to others?
A useful shortcut. I like F4. I think that was one of the things if you press F4, you can get
Mm-hmm.
a list of quick snippets for like switches and for loops and all that kind of stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, it's a super quick thing rather than writing out a whole for loop. You just press the button and it already has all the I and iterates I plus one, and so you can just put your variable that you're comparing against and keep moving. So that's one I find I use all the time.
Yeah, I would say in Game Maker Studio 1.4, it used to be F2.
Yeah,
And
F2, yeah.
yeah, and I actually modified the built-in snippets menu to add a whole bunch of my own functions. Of course, I don't have GameMaker open anymore, but yeah, it was. I don't know if it still is. I hope it is it's a user modifiable file. So um,
Really, that's actually really handy because yeah, like I say, there's some in there I don't use at all, and there's
mhm.
others that I kind of wish were in there, or things I use all the time that I end up copying from somewhere else.
Right, and that's the thing is it definitely used to be user modifiable. I don't know if it still is, but yeah. So that being said, Um, if anyone has any questions from chat, now is the time to send them in. But in the meantime, maybe you can tell us a little bit. Do you have any future plans for the game going forward? Or are there any other things about the game that you want to finish up, make a post jam version of?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean that first one sort of about the education just around that sort of zone that you can't go through,
Mm-hmm.
just to make it a bit more accessible for people who maybe don't play games all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that would be quite good. And make a few more levels. There's a couple of the levels that we didn't really do a lot of testing on. Like one of them we added in the last sort of hour, and it was sort of just finished enough to put in the game. But we didn't really test it, and it's actually one of the more aggravating levels in the game that sort of other people who've played it have had some issue with. So, yeah, we're refining some of those levels, probably adding another, maybe 10 or 20 levels just to make the game sort of a bit more of an hour experience at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I mean, depending on how interested in continuing. If my sort of sister and brother are interested in continuing it, then I'm happy to keep going with it and start developing that forest theme that we sort of started off with, because I think the game would, like, thematically, I think it'd be a much cooler in a sort of dark forest with trees, and maybe instead of spikes coming out of the ground, it could be like vines growing out of the sides and stuff. So just more of a thematic change, but I think that would be quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other things that would really help is some way of indicating which buttons influence which spike traps.
Yeah, so at the moment it's a bit of a trial and error thing, which I think
Yeah.
is okay when it's a 1-to-1, right? Like when you've got one button that does one spike trap, or one button that does sort of several spike traps even.
Mhm.
Um, but the problem comes when there's, I think in that previous level, or there's a lot of levels where you have two buttons that influence the same group of spikes. And so that's one where I've noticed just watching other people play the game, that's where they get confused, because if you already have something on a button that does something, and then you stand a button, it's like, oh, this button doesn't do anything, but it does something you're already doing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, also indication, even with something simple like colors or something like that, would help people a lot, I think, to immediately understand what the puzzle is. So it's
I mean, I think I would definitely recommend some sort of symbolism for the buttons rather than colors, because you can't rely on color being a an indicator for things that you might have. Some people like especially red green color blindness is especially prevalent. So anytime you can use a combination of color and symbols, but should be a bit of both.
yeah, that's an interesting point. Actually, I hadn't thought of. So it sort of makes your game far more inclusive if you're
Yeah,
able to do that.
exactly. So, Scaveator's asking if you have any experience in other engines aside from GameMaker.
No, not really. So I started using Game Maker when I was about 13 in high school. And so, I mean, in high school we learned Visual Basic, and I do have some experience with sort of web design stuff. But no, Game Maker is really the one I just always come back to when I feel like I want to play around and make a game. So I've never really made any sort of commercial projects, so to speak, or anything. Just tutu around, and that's what my when you want to tutu around, you want to go to something that you're comfortable with, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of things I've seen in Unity that are really cool, and I really would want to try out, but yeah, so far it's just every time I feel like making a game, I feel like just making the game, not learning an engine and then making a game. So
Yeah,
I've ended up sticking with it, really.
for sure. Well, I've managed to get myself stumped on this level here, but if anyone else has any other questions, now is the last opportunity to ask them. And in the meantime, I'll just ask, where can people find you on social media? Do you have any other projects that you'd like to plug?
No, I'd actually. So this is the first time I've opened Game Maker in probably about sort of 3 years. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't have any current other projects, but you can find my sort of itch.io. There's this game and I think there's one other game that I made for mobile.
Okay.
And but that one's probably not. Maybe don't show that.
Well,
It's a
there
bit
it
of
was.
a bit of a joke game. Yes, that was what I made. Uh, But it was after a night of drinking with a friend of mine who's actually he's a graphic design person and stuff, and his girlfriend was always playing the Flappy Bird game, and so he sort of made a joke about that, and then we spent the next week and put it together.
Of
And
course.
we got like 2,000 downloads on the App Store before it got taken away.
Of
I
course.
didn't actually realize it was still on my itch.io until I
Oh no.
tried to get the link today for you, and I was like, oh, I probably should remove that.
Maybe. Ah, well.
Yes.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for joining me on the chat today, Headless. It's been a lot of fun. Um, as I said, I got myself stumped here, but I'm sure if I wasn't splitting my brain three ways, I'd have a better chance. That's the excuse I'm sticking with anyway. Um, so yeah, I look forward to seeing any other future projects that you might want to share. Please do join up on the Discord and send them my way anytime you'd like to be have another interview like this. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks very much for that.
All right. So there we go. We're going to quit out of the game right now. But that has been the Will-O-Wisp by Headless. And, we clicked exit and we got a fatal error. Maybe because of, well, I'm not exactly sure about here. But
Yeah, what is that? Variable index out of range. Yeah.
I'll post to you the error in Discord.
Oh, cheers. No, thanks for that.
Good old game maker errors.
I mean,
Um,
it failed successfully though, didn't it? You got you out of the game.
well, and unfortunately, Excavator, the next one, unfortunately, yes, the next interview we have booked is already set to go. So we don't have time to try the other one, the other project, but have to get an
Okay.
explicit filter for the stream.
That would be very funny, actually. All good. Catch you later.
Talk to you later then. All right. Bye bye.